This is the 46 of 46 podcast Summit Sessions, where we'll talk all things Adirondack, backcountry, and beyond. From high peak stories and adventures to trail tips and tricks, we'll dive deep into the heart of these mountains and the people who passionately climb them. Adirondack maps and spruce traps, bushwhacks and backpacks. It's all here on the 46 of 46 Summit Sessions. Hey everyone, and welcome to this edition of the 46 of 46 podcast Summit Sessions series. Here on the Summit Sessions, I'll be talking to a variety of hikers and outdoors men and women, bringing you their unique experiences and stories from the Adirondack backcountry and beyond. There's so many incredibly experienced people out on the trails here in the Adirondacks, and the beauty of hiking is that no hike is ever the same. So now it's time to open the floodgates, if you will, and enjoy some new stories that, for starters, aren't my stories, and simply learn from and enjoy one another's experiences from the trail. Plus, who doesn't like talking shop? My plan is to keep each episode on point regarding a specific outdoors topic. Whether it's bushwhacking, ultra hiking, gear, rescue stories, map and compass work, winter hiking, or whatever. And of course, there'll be plenty of 46ers talking about the high peaks. It's always fun to talk to others about their own 46ers journey, so there'll be plenty of that as well. My guest today is a person many of you may know from his photography work or his YouTube channel, and I've also been hiking with him quite a bit this winter, so you've heard his name here on this very podcast, Jonathan Zaharek. Jonathan's currently nearing the finish line on his single-season Winter 46, which, as anyone knows, is quite an impressive feat. But he also has some even bigger plans for later in the summer involving some big feats here within the high peaks. But we'll get to that. My man Jonathan, welcome to the jungle.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, happy to have you here. You know, we've been seeing a lot of each other this winter, so, might as well get you out into the show. Before we dive in, where'd you hike this weekend? Where's the last place you've been?
I did Allen Mountain on Saturday. It was number 36 out of 46, all and right. I thought I was going to be the only one. Other than Kira, who joined me, it was definitely a nearly full parking lot, surprisingly.
That is shocking, actually.
I slept at the trailhead in my car, and once I woke up, there were like 8 other cars around me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let them go ahead of me because I know we got like 2 or 3 feet of fresh snow that following day. So I selfishly let them hike first.
That's kind of you. You're a real selfless man. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Give me a quick backstory now of how you discovered the Adirondacks. Since you are from the Midwest, you are not from the Northeast like most people here in the Adirondacks. So how did you find this place? How'd you get into hiking? Give me just a quick backstory into that before we start talking about the single-season Winter 46.
I definitely have a unique upbringing with this place. Unlike most people who probably live in New York State, I was born and raised in Southwest Ohio, and whereas most people probably had a couple hours commute to this park, mine was 12 one way, so 24 hours round trip. And so, like I said, I grew up in Southwest Ohio, and I was raised coming here to the southern region in Speculator every single summer to summer camp, and essentially just that's where I knew about these mountains. And eventually, I decided to go to college here for 1 year at Word of Life Bible Institute in Scroon Lake, New York. And during that time was kind of a growth with photography and just kind of getting into the outdoors and really learning the environment here because it's much different than Ohio.
Sure.
And absolutely. Somewhere along the lines, after hiking my first high peak, which was Nipple Top, which was an awful experience, but love thinking about it, I just continued to wanting to come back up and forth from Ohio, back and forth to photographing it and kind of growing that because I knew photography is what I wanted to do, and really just started to set my mind on the 46 high peaks, which then eventually just flowed in today. I am a 4th generation Adirondack person, but like not a local. I don't consider myself a local.
Don't worry, we don't consider you one.
Yeah,
either.
Thank you. I want people to know that. Even though I do live here now, I permanently moved here in June of 2019. I am not a local by any means. But my great-grandmother did start coming to the Adirondacks in the 1920s, which eventually led into bringing my grandmother, who met her husband in New Jersey, who also had a relation with the Adirondack Park, which then resulted in both of them spending their summers up here, resulting into my mother, and who was probably the most emotionally attached to the place out of everyone else in the family, which was good for me, because that's one of the main reasons why I became very attached to it too.
Sure.
And so it kind of flowed into me. And I'm the only one in my family who has pursued the Adirondacks really in any way since then.
In a major way.
You
You uprooted your entire life to be here.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's great.
And I'm 22, for the record. If anyone wants to know, I'm 22 years old.
Can I see some ID? We cannot confirm
anyways.
that he is indeed 22 years old. He is not showing me his ID, but we'll take his word for it. So you became a 46er. I met you at the banquet in the spring of last year.
2018. May of 2019.
2019,
Yep,
I met you at the banquet. And you finished like 2 weeks before I did in 2018.
Sure.
And now you are tackling the single season winter 46.
Correct.
Not just going for the winter 46. The single season is very important to you, which is quite the feat, as I mentioned, and as anybody knows. So talk to me about how did that come about? Obviously, it's cool, and who wouldn't want to do that? But you have created your whole life right now with your job, with where you're living, to specifically complete the single season winter 46.
Yeah,
so
current circumstances.
Yes. So what made that your goal right now?
So 2 years ago, or even last winter, I didn't have nearly as much of a desire as I do right now, or did a couple months ago, to wanting to become a winter 46er. I really just wanted to become a 46er and just experience that whole thing. And I didn't know what that I was going to turn into. Even like my YouTube channel, I had no idea what that was going to, people were going to start really taking note of it. I didn't really have any idea. But once I really started to, once the YouTube channel started to find its place, and I was able to somewhat start a name for myself, or a business, through my landscape photography, through the Lake Placid Center for the Arts, and through social media and my website, and selling those things, I was given even more of a reason to go out into the mountains. And the 46ers started something inside of me that I just couldn't contain. And at the end of every hike, the harder it was, the more I wanted to do it at the end of it. And I think a lot of people listening to this can relate to that. And it's something incredible. It's an incredible feeling that I've never experienced anywhere else. And so as I realized over the last year that I was going to move here, it opened up a new way of envisioning these mountains in terms of how I wanted to develop my relationship with them. Because before I was a 46er, that whole thing was commuting back and forth from Ohio. I did spend my summers up here, which helped a lot. But it wasn't like, I drove up 12 hours and then hiked and then went back home. I mean, I spent like a couple weeks here at a time. But once I knew I was going to move here, I really started to think about what opportunities and things that I could do. And the winter 46 to me was a completely different animal of itself, and it was a brand new opportunity to do the 46er journey again, see the peaks in a different way, and also develop and grow my love for mountaineering. I do love mountaineering, and although I'm not exceptionally experienced in terms of like what someone could be growing up in like the Rockies or out in Europe or whatever, because I'm from the cornfields, I can only do so much. I wanted to set my mind on taking advantage of the winter up here to also learn and develop those things. So as I moved up here in the summer, took its course, like I mentioned earlier, my photography is showed through the Lake Placid Center for the Arts. And through there is where I sell most of my artwork on the wall in the display in the Main Street Art Gallery. And my gallery manager kind of gave me this proposal, which is such, it's the best opportunity that I've ever been given. And it's really humbling, because it's really showed, once I was given the opportunity that he gave me, which I'll explain here in a minute what that was, it really allowed me to see exactly what all of this is kind of becoming, that it actually is really starting to take hold. And what the proposal was, essentially, he knew that I lived here now and that I wanted to complete my Winter 46. At the time, I already had like nearly half of them done.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, because you did a bunch of them in the winter during your just regular 46er journey.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I already had some experience and I had the gear and I knew that I wanted to become a Winter 46er. And I was like, you know what, I'll try to do it, throughout the winter season. But essentially, the proposal that my manager had was, how would you feel about going back and in the single season, take a photograph from the summit of every single high peak, specifically this winter, single season, December 21st through March 21st, and
March 19th, technically, this year, thanks to the leap year. Because March 21st is actually spring.
yeah,
People say they get all, hey, it's through the 21st, but it's not, because that's technically spring. So technically, March 20th is the last day of winter.
Sure.
But, who
I do
am
think
I
on the
but
Winter
keeping
46
people
roster, though,
honest?
it does say in the fine print, though, I think
It does.
I think
No, you're
it
not
does
wrong.
Say to the 21st, right?
You're not wrong.
But in terms of the
But
actual
it
winter
is wrong.
solstice, correct. It needs to.
It is wrong.
Yeah. So when it comes to qualification of the Winter 46, it's to the 21st, but with this specific gallery presentation, the photos need to be done within a winter solstice.
Totally.
The winter season.
I love it.
And thanks, leap year. So that's what essentially gave me the opportunity and the stoke to then do the single season winter, because it gave me a reason. It's not that I didn't want to do it, but it was like, if I didn't have to put myself through that and go revisit a lot of peaks that I already did, I didn't want to have to do that. And so I decided to take on the challenge, and essentially what the whole thing at the end of it is that after I take all these pictures in June and July, and there isn't a set date yet, but it's about mid-June to mid-July, there's going to be a 6-week showing at the Lake Placid Center for the Arts of all of these pictures on massive metal prints, all for sale, and it's going to be 46er themed and everything, with like trail signs and designs and all this really great stuff that people can just go in for free whenever they want during the 6-week period, and to see the summit photos around the whole entire room. And there's going to be like little pictures and stuff too that you can buy and whatever. So it's just really I think they are going in the right place with this, because the LPCA has seen the growth of the 46 high peaks, and in their marketing, they were like, I think we should capsulate on this. And
it's going to be awesome, because
yeah.
you mentioned to me, well, we've been hiking. I know a little bit about this, but there's other artists that you mentioned, like there's painters that are doing certain galleries there as well. There's people who make wooden signs that are doing all of the trail signs. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yep.
Because you're going to walk in and it's just going to be, you're going to feel like you're on a trail, but you're not. You're inside a building with the pictures. So it's going to be pretty awesome, considering the amount of talent that they have, all centered around the high peaks.
There's going to be other artists
in the
involved
winter
with it too. I'm not the sole one. I'll be the only one, I think, like with the photographs on the wall. So the whole show is centered around my single season Winter 46. But there will be other artists involved as well with painting. I don't know all the details. We're gonna have another meeting here soon, but I'm super grateful, and I'm very humbled by the whole idea, because I didn't know what this was going to turn into, and I think the biggest thing that I can account for all of this is essentially being able to find something that not only I can relate to, like use my passions and my desires, but like all the people here are mutually feeling the same thing. They all have the same stoke and the same desire at the end of the day for these mountains, some different than others because they've been here for 50 years and others just starting to find it. But at the end of the day, the mountains are all attracting everyone in some degree equally. And I'm really grateful to have found something that I can involve that with and kind of like blend it together. And giving back to these mountains is a really important thing. And giving back specifically with actual like trail maintenance and maintaining and conservationalism and environmentalist stuff is very important, and that's something I would like to get into the future. But as of right now, I do think that this is my way of being able to give back to the people that are trying to